This could unlock the Oilers, specifically when it comes to their bottom six, with the addition of Vasily Podkolzin to the Oilers roster. I'll get into all that and more today on the Oilers Digest as we get into Vasily Podkolzin, how he fits with the Oilers, what went wrong for him in Vancouver, and what can you exactly expect out of him. But before all that, make sure you subscribe here to Oilers Digest, as we are currently 5 subscribers away from 1,900, and hopefully we can get to 2,000 by the start of the season. Of course, the season very fastly approaching here. 48 hours from now, the Oilers will be taking on the Winnipeg Jets in their first preseason game, and all the way up to October 9th, where they start the regular season, again, also against the Winnipeg Jets. But without further ado, folks, Podkolzin, a hidden gem. Yes, that is what many in the Edmonton media are sort of talking about. Podkolzin, of course, traded from the Vancouver Canucks to the Oilers for a 4th-round pick. Many in the media are saying, one man's trash is another's treasure. Of course, I'm obviously not calling, Podkolzin trash here, but as the saying goes, Vancouver, they noticed he was waiver exempt and decided they could get something for Podkolzin. Podkolzin, of course, who was acquired by the Oilers in the offseason, is seen as a complete wildcard. Jason Strudwick of the Got Your Back podcast mentioned that Podkolzin's potential is very hard to predict. He could score 15 goals or just one. What's clear, however, is that the young forward has all the tools to be a difference maker. If he can find his confidence, he could be as good or even better than Klim Kostin, a player who unexpectedly broke out for the Oilers in the past. And I'm calling it right now. If Podkolzin even reaches that potential, not even quickly, but as the season progresses, becomes a fan favorite, I think you could see him stick around the Oilers for a very long time in their bottom six, unless he prices himself out, which exactly is what Klim Kostin did at the end of his only season with the Oilers. Of course, Podkolzin met with the media the other day, and he had some quotes here. He was asked about, the coaching in Vancouver, in Abbotsford, the whole organization there, how to play the game, and he was told, just play, don't think, just react. Everyone tells me that, everybody has his way, I'm just going on mine, and that sort of led to the safe play that, the Connect coaching staff wasn't exactly a fan of. Of course, he made the safe plays, but he had no pizzazz, nothing special that they thought they could keep him around on the roster for. And when he came over from Russia, it seemed as if the Russian wanted to play in the NHL as soon as possible, but the winger was under contract to SKA St. Petersburg for 2 more seasons. Of course, the KHL and the NHL, the KHL sees themselves as equal to the NHL, and they don't really like losing players to that. So in 2019 and 20, he had very limited ice time, scoring 2 goals and 8 points in 30 games. So while he didn't have much more of an opportunity in his final season, he managed 6 goals and 11 points in 35 games during the 2021 season. So with his limited ice time, of course, Podkolzin wanted to make the safe plays, and that sort of gets ingrained in your mind there. Of course, when you lack confidence, you tend to just make the very basic plays that doesn't impress your coaching staff whatsoever, and he was riding a very, very short bench. Of course, his last season in Vancouver, Teddy Bluger and Connor Garland were his 2 most notable line mates there. But even in his first season there with Vancouver, you can see the stats there. Bounce between Vancouver and Abbotsford, had a tremendous playoff run with St. Petersburg in the KHL. Came over, played with Niels Höglander and Elias Pettersson, and had himself, a pretty decent rookie year. 14 goals, 12 assists, 26 points in 79 games, and, played with Abbotsford in the playoffs there. And, of course, split his time between Vancouver and Abbotsford, and that doesn't really do a whole lot to your confidence. I mean, when you go, flip-flop back and forth, you don't really see yourself as much in the organization. You don't really see what the organization sees in you fully. Also from Podkolzin here, when it came to, flip-flopping between Abbotsford and Vancouver, he said, when I signed my first NHL contract, I just talked to myself and said, whatever happens out there, I'll be working to get to be a regular NHL player. Honestly, when I was sent down to Abbotsford in some tough times, I'm thinking about it, but I would never say, I'm going to go back to Russia. I don't want to work here anymore. I don't want to give up here. I've thought about it, but when you try this NHL taste, when the taste of the professional leagues, and you played in the minors, it was good for me. And he was also asked about, how he felt about Edmonton. Of course, he said he was from Russia, so the Edmonton winters didn't really affect him all that much, but he said, "This city is special for me. I was here during the Gretzky-Holinka under-18 tournament. I was here for some World Junior games, but at the same time, it was my first NHL game here. It's great to have a fresh start here." He's also asked about, his fight with Oiler prospect Raphael Lavoie there. A very mean-spirited fight last season when, Podkolzin was with Abbotsford and Lavoie with Bakersfield. But he just sort of laughed it off. Of course, Lavoie and Podkolzin hashed things out. It's all business in the minor leagues. You got to do what you got to do when you got to do it. And to see, Podkolzin... with his first meeting with the media, I'm very excited to see what he could do in the bottom six. Of course, he is projected in training camp to be with Derek Ryan and Corey Perry and to be placed with two veterans. I mean, that's pretty big news for a guy like Podkolzin. I mean, that's what you need to instill confidence. Perry, giving them the tips and the tricks, and also with Derek Ryan as well. But not just, his line mates, but, all throughout the team. McDavid, Draisaitl. When you get to play with that sort of star power, you pick up little things along the way, and it just does nothing but boost your confidence. And again, I'm excited to see what Podkolzin could potentially do in the Oilers' bottom six, or things shuffle around and we do see him in the top six due to injuries or something like that. The sky is the limit for Podkolzin, and I think there's much more to be seen than what he did in his rookie year, even playing with Elias Pettersson. But some training camp updates. Yes, there's been some updates regarding another Oiler prospect, Roby Järventie. He had surgery on the one leg and overcompensated with the other one. He really wanted to push through and be out there for camp, but it's best for him to get treatment. He should be back on the ice in 1 or 2 weeks. Of course, Roby Järventie, acquired from Ottawa in the July Xavier Bourgault trade, is walking around Rogers Place with a knee brace on his left leg in a crutch, and his chances of showing what he can do in camp are likely meager. Of course, Järventie's played 7 NHL games with the Ottawa Senators, but has spent most of his time in the AHL since he was a second-round draft pick in 2023. Did have knee surgery this past February as a Senators prospect in Belleville, but his repaired knee isn't the problem right now, because, of course, it was the other leg, according to head coach Kris Knoblauch of the Edmonton Oilers. So, when you miss a good chunk of training camp, that's not exactly, good for his, chances to, lightning a bottle to maybe, have a short-term spot on the main roster. But I mean, put him down in Bakersfield for the time being when he is eventually healthy, and you never know what you might have with him later on down the road. And later, you can see there Stuart Skinner with some new gear, some Mike Smith inspired gear. I'm not too much for goalie gear, but when you see something like this, very snazzy here from Stuart Skinner. Again, don't know if it was intentional or not, but again, sort of a Mike Smith tribute there, and you can see those pads hopefully later on down the road in the preseason. Of course, preseason does kick off on Sunday, September 22nd against the Jets, and there's the split squad game against the Calgary Flames. Leading on down the way, there got Winnipeg, Seattle, Vancouver, Seattle again, and also Vancouver. So very condensed team list here for the preseason, but we will have coverage of all of those games here on Oilers Digest. That's it for today's video. Let me know down in the comments bit of a question of the day. Who is your favorite Oiler goaltender of all time? Mine, growing up, Dwayne Rollison. Kind of aged myself here a bit. Probably not as young as most of you expected, but Dwayne Rollie would be my pick. Let me know down in the comments, and also let me know down in the comments what you think of Vasily Podkolzin. That is it for today's episode. Have yourselves a fantastic weekend. I am Matt.